Today I'm going to be watching a video that I watched earlier about transforming, remodeling malls.
Arcade Mall in Providence, Rhode Island, the oldest indoor shopping mall.
Let's start it over.
So welcome to the teeny tiny shoebox apartment inside the arcade. There are lots of others in the building just like this. So mine is about 250 square feet. There's a walkway right in front of the facade because this used to be a shop front, and so people had to access all of the shops in the building. While malls across the U.S. are facing store closures and empty parking lots, some are finding a new life from an unlikely source. We are here at the Arcade Mall in Providence, Rhode Island, the oldest indoor shopping mall in the country. The arcade has long been a center point in Providence's bustling downtown, but like other malls, it fell in hard times and was completely vacant. But that
Okay, so I actually talked about this, I even talked about it in my journal. I talked about this with my mentor like maybe a year ago, where basically this concept of where a lot of malls are kind of going into this era where they're becoming vacant. We see that example, it's particularly in Texas where I live, at the Baytown Mall. I can't remember what that mall was called, but it's a mall in Baytown, the main mall in Baytown, the only mall in Baytown, as well as that mall in Greenspoint. Those two malls, I don't really get out the house too often, but we know that from just right off the bat, from just looking at them all from the outside, that they're abandoned and they're being torn down. And my idea was to create and remodel and create spaces for the community, whether it be residential areas such as this. This is a shopping mall that's been turned into slash residential, and part of it's residential, part of it is remaining as storefront, and then we see, or I would like to transform them into like educational centers where there's food courts, there's classrooms, there's activities like skating rinks, gyms, movie theaters, or just theaters in general, and just transferring these spaces into places where people can still interact on a large scale, like a university. We see how that campus is. There's like it's like a student center, there's libraries, there's a residential portion. Basically taking funds and pouring into these centers and remodel and redeveloping them into bigger spaces of potential. That way they're not just wasting space. We see that because I believe a lot of stores are starting to move online. We see how drop shipping works. We see a lot of places or companies like Amazon that are starting to take over. People are going more onto like an online shopping space versus in-person shopping. And because I work in malls, literally that's what I do for a living. I go into malls and I redesign them, and you see a lot of companies pouring into the refresh and remodel of these malls. I think it's so worthwhile to keep that experience for people, because there's beauty in having that in-person experience. So, and you see me taking a deep breath a lot. I just sprayed this room down with Fabuloso because side topic, Chanel has just like covered this room in her own gunk, and it's like kind of hurting my chest a little bit. I don't know if that's healthy to be breathing at it, but that's what this video is about. I've talked a lot about it, and I'm so glad to see that there's already people, builders, developers, architects engineers that are taking the leap on beginning this. And I really liked how they did some of this, but I believe there's other ways to do it, because I feel like, in a way, and you'll see in this video, there's a way to keep malls and like the mall side and the residential side more private and exclusive, because I wouldn't want, and I saw this when I was in a mall in Washington, there was like homeless people walking around the mall, and there was nothing that the security was doing about it. They were obviously homeless. Not that there's any hate. Obviously it was very cold outside, so I can see why they would want to be inside, but I just think there's better ways to do it. So let's just watch the video.
Rather than letting this historic building fall into ruin, developers came in and decided to build 48 micro-lofts here on the second floor and on
That's another thing. Another thing is 48 is not that very many. Like, it doesn't really make as much as an impact whenever it's on a smaller scale. I feel like 48, if you had like 48 new neighbors, it wouldn't really make a difference in my opinion. If it was a large building like my building, we've got at least over 200 residents in just this one area, then you're more likely to see the impact because you're intermingling, you're seeing the activity, people welcome in, welcome out. I feel like they should have did it differently. There should be like concierge. Like you can see the entrance and exit of this building is literally right here. I feel like there should be concierge. There should be pools. There should be facilities for the residents to sit, like common spaces. I feel like they really, I don't want to say half-assed, but they kind of like halfway did this. They like kind of weren't all the way in. I feel like if you're gonna put money into a project like this, you need to go full force and really make the residential piece exciting and transforming enough for the resident and the buyer, the customer that's coming into the mall. Like, I want to live here. Like whenever you walk into this mall, I want to live in this place. This is a perfect place to live. And you can see it kind of reminds me of like a hotel that has, I think it's like Marriott Courtyard, that has like it's like a circular space, and there's it's like an open below concept where you can look down into the courtyard and see people like moving around. I think that's even better than this. It's just like, this is just like straight aisles with, you know, and we'll watch the video so you can see, but I'll go as I go on because I can talk about this all day. And I'm gonna actually speed this video up a little bit. I'm gonna maybe playback speed.
34 million square feet of U.S. mall space is vacant and off the market. Almost 70% of Americans live within an hour of a mall that had a high vacancy rate, low consumer travel.
Oh wait, that's actually 1 second. Hey Sharina, how you doing? I'm doing good. I was just making a video. No, it's fine. I'm pausing. I'm actually free now.
Right around the corner from where we live.
To a massive housing deficit of 4.5 million homes.
There's 1,000 open lot markets across the U.S., right? This is an opportunity to find land and have built in customer base to people in the mall.
Monday through Friday is really busy down here. It's definitely, people in the offices working, getting lunch or whatever, our barbers downstairs.
As of January 2022, at least 192 U.S. malls plan to add a housing component. The U.S. had about 1,100 regional and super regional malls, about 8.5% lower in 2015. So, can new housing developments help revive the classic American mall? And what's it like to live inside one? CBC went to Providence, Rhode Island to find out. Amy Hingham has been living in the top floor of a three-story mall in Providence, Rhode Island for the past 2.5 years. What's it like to live at the mall?
It's really great. It's cool to be part of such a historic building and knowing that every single one of these units used to be a shop of some kind.
But living in a converted store does present some challenges.
Here is my very tiny kitchen. It is very small, but it is workable. And one of the interesting things about the units in the building is that because of codes, you can't have any cooking devices with an open flame. So none of the units have stoves or ranges.
Okay, so obviously there's two issues. One, a lot of the spaces, and she's obviously pretty bothered by the fact that the space is so small. I think she said like 500 to like 700 square feet, which is really small for an apartment. I think she said 500 square feet. It's really small for the apartment. I think it's fair to say if you're living in spaces like this, you're going to attract likely like either a really young or a really older crowd. You're probably not going to attract very many families, which would be essential for providing like a variety for the customer, because I know that I live in a 1,400 square foot apartment with 2 bedrooms, one for the office. I have to have a large space with a lot of natural light in order to feel content with where I am, because I do work from home, which is something we're seeing move across the nation with people, especially after COVID, working from home. They want to feel like they're comfortable in that space. So I think we can start off by making the spaces a lot bigger, at least 1,000 square feet. And because obviously because of code, there's no ranges, there's no up with fire, but something that they can do to combat that issue is having common spaces like you would in a dormitory, where people can go down and cook. They don't have to eat out every single day because it's not cost efficient, but having multiple ranges, multiple stoves, ovens, so that people can go down, cook themselves a meal. Maybe you provide some type of grocery the cabinet that has a range of items that's prepaid for, that's included in their rent that they'll pay every month. That way they have options and something to eat there, or maybe have some type of chef or cook on duty that provides weekly meals. That's free to the residents, but you can pay if you're a customer. That, or maybe make it private to only residents, and you'll have a kind of like a buffet when you go into a hotel, and there's a wide range of food, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And you have a chef on duty that's maybe making a particular item like omelets and things like that. Having that will eliminate the fact that people don't want to move into a place where they have to eat out every single day. And that's likely what she's doing, is she's paying the extra $200 to $500 a month on eating out, which is a huge expense if you think about already paying rent, light, water bill, and things like that. So, like I said, maybe having some type of common area where food is provided for the residents so that they don't have to outsource their meals every single day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And if you're anything like me, late night snacks at like 11, 12 o'clock at night. Maybe having a kitchen available to them with some type of convenience store attached that's already prepaid for them in their rent. It's included in their rent so that they don't have to outsource meals. And that's just kind of keeping all the money flowing inside that one system versus having to go out and buy from like your local franchise food chain restaurants.
Do you ever have any concerns about privacy?
Not really. It's something you get used to living in the building, having people coming and going. Everybody has lines in their apartment that they can raise or lower as they like.
Despite those challenges, residents say having access to shops and restaurants makes living at the arcade a unique experience.
I get my hair cut in the salon downstairs, and there's little lunch spots, so you don't even have to leave the building. There's a bookstore downstairs, and they'll do author talks in the private lounge area.
I'm not gonna lie, I absolutely hate the design of this. It makes me feel like I'm in school. It gives me like walking past classrooms type of vibe. It's very narrow hallway. There's hardly any greenery. I do like the ceiling lights that are coming down that's not the right terminology for it, but the ceiling lights that are coming in, the natural windows that are so the top, they have, I can't remember what the name of them are called, but basically just like ceiling windows that bring in that natural light. There's a specific name for it, I just can't think of the name right now, but I think you can do way better with this design by one, providing concierge at the front, having like some type of room service, because any way we can make this more like a hotel or resort that allows people to feel comfortable enough to stay in the building and not have to go out. I hate the color scheme. It's very dull. It's not vibrant whatsoever. Obviously you have the stores there. I think they can make the hallway a lot wider, and provide some type of security at the front to where anybody who wants to come in, yes, it's a mall, but it's also a residential area. So maybe provide some key codes that you have to swipe in order to get past. Allow the residents to have discounts at the stores, because after all, they are paying rent to live there. So maybe they have, like my building for example, they have 2 restaurants downstairs. There used to be a nail salon, there was a dentist office. So provide some type of discount to the residents that create some type of initiative or incentive, should I say, to shop there in that particular hair salon or nail salon or bookstore, because after all, that is going to be their main clientele. So that makes more money. It's easier for the client because they live there, but also it makes the business more money as well.
Avoiding New England's sometimes stormy weather is, of course, another perk.
If it's like pouring rain outside or snowy, you just really can't be bothered to go out in the weather, you can still go downstairs and take advantage of those amenities.
And it's not just long-term renters that are attracted to the mall. Scott Sheehan is a real estate investor and rents out his apartment on Airbnb.
So these business owners that are down on the first floor, how important is it to them to kind of have a built-in customer base for these residents on the second and third floor?
I know a lot of folks are very loyal to, many of the bars, restaurants, clothing stores downstairs. So, the business folks downstairs definitely are interested in maintaining that relationship with the residents.
You definitely feel like you're part of the community more so than if you were just in a standard apartment building. It has been interesting with people trying to unlock my door, thinking that this is an Airbnb apartment. So sometimes you have to deal with the public more than you would in a regular home. But for me, that's a small compromise.
For me, that would be a huge compromise. One of my biggest issues or my biggest concerns when I move into an apartment building is the safety. How secure is the building? And I will literally move out of a building because of that reason alone. My being a young woman is it's vital that my security is a top priority of the management that's working there, or whatever management company is owning the building, or owns the building, should I say. So no, I think that they should definitely prioritize. I just noticed that the doors were wide open. I think that in order for me to feel safe in a community, it has to be like top notch, locked. Like the only way you can get up to this floor is if you have a key code that allows you to this floor, and amenities too. I would not want just anybody using my gym or my pool. So it would need to be versatile in a way that I can access it, my neighbor can access it, but not the random guy who came in, decided he wanted to stop in for a burger, can access that stuff.
When a mall dies, communities lose more than just a shopping destination. Malls often serve as economic hubs, generating billions in tax revenue and creating thousands of jobs. In 2020, U.S. malls and shopping centers contributed $400 billion in tax revenue. When malls close, it triggers an economic domino effect. Local businesses suffer, jobs are lost, and vacant spaces become eyesores. To combat this, developers are transforming dead malls into mixed-use spaces, offices, medical facilities, and housing.
That's beautiful.
Of these conversions, nearly
That's
54%
amazing.
are being used for residents.
I think obviously having spaces like this, look at this as like some type of bar, you can go at the top, there's outdoor space. I think this would be a great example of a mall being converted into residential / shopping area. I think this is a lot better than just kind of that building that they showed in the first slide or the first clip, because this is a lot more collaborative. People are incentivized to go outside and interact with other people. There look like there's events happening going on. This is a lot better, and we'll see later in the video, obviously, how they're starting to do that. And I think it's a great idea.
Residences and office space. Once upon a time, retailers like Macy's and JCPenney were the anchors of America's malls, but department stores are shrinking. Macy's plans to close 150 of its namesake stores by 2027. JCPenney, which has already closed hundreds of stores since declaring bankruptcy, is closing 4 more between this year and next, despite a $1 billion turnaround investment plan.
When you have dead retail space, it can be easier to clear that. Most of what a retail site is parking lot. So you don't have to demo much to demo a parking lot, and the buildings themselves are generally easier to demo and then adapt into a retail space.
The arcade is a little bit different than some of the other mall-based residential projects out there. Most of them, like the one at Flatiron Crossing in Broomfield, Colorado, are adjacent
Beautiful.
to the mall and connected by green spaces or walkways.
Gorgeous.
In parking lot, we utilize parking here at the mall, and we decided to go with at least 2 projects here.
All of the benefits that the shopping center itself bring to the equation. You have a highly amenitized residential project that's much more desirable than something that might just be, in an isolated location.
Not only does it meet housing needs, but it also revitalizes the property by bringing in.
Look how empty that mall is.
Restaurants,
This mall is
gyms,
they're empty, literally. Like there are malls across America are like this.
While housing in malls sounds promising, it's not without its challenges. Zoning laws can be a major hurdle. Malls are typically zoned for commercial or mixed use, not multifamily residential. Developers often need approval from local jurisdictions to move forward.
Like any other development.
Right, because if you know anything about residential buildings, you know that any house, any apartment, they require you to have windows, access to natural light. Part of that is being like a safety issue and a ventilation issue. So I can see why they would think that demoing a mall would be a lot better than having to remodel it, because there's less complications.
Developer, are having to navigate things like interest rates, construction costs, capital markets, and so on.
Another obstacle is design. Most malls have limited windows, which are essential for residential spaces because they need natural light, making it difficult to convert certain parts of the mall. Usually, only the exterior-facing retail spaces are suitable for housing. Converting commercial office space into apartments is another trend, but it's often very...
I love the idea of converting old office buildings into residential spaces. I really don't see what the issue is, because a lot of office buildings have plenty of window space, so it doesn't really make any sense to me why they'd be having so many issues. Like literally, the building that I live in, you can see in the back, it literally looks like a besides having the balconies, it literally looks like a commercial office space. So I don't see the issue with that. Obviously, it's just in my brain, you're just building in some partition walls. I mean, part of the issue probably would be like the plumbing issue. You would need to put sinks and stoves and toilets in every space. So I could see that being an issue. But honestly, I think it's a great idea. It's like having a shell. And normally, obviously, in the building process, you would do the plumbing and the electrical before you even get to the drywall. But I think it's a great idea. I would definitely invest more money into it.
Very expensive. A study found that in 5 U.S. metro areas hit hardest by remote work, the estimated office acquisition price would need to drop by 50% for conversion to be financially feasible.
Conversion projects are really tricky because, a lot depends upon existing conditions, which you might not always know about. But to give you a range, on a very low end, you'd be looking at maybe $200 a square foot to convert, where on the upper end, you might be looking more at like $800 or more per square foot to convert.
Despite those headwinds, malls across America just might have a second chance if they can truly become the housing hubs of the future.
Malls becoming pollutant, and so being able to live by it, work by it, play by it, go to restaurants by it, we're definitely seeing this as a trend.
Some people are confused and they'll say, why would you want to live in a space that small? But for me, it's about having a reasonable apartment at a reasonable price that would force me out to the community and interacting with the people outside. The point is not to stay in a 250 square foot studio, it's to interact with the downtown that you're living in.
I absolutely agree with her. Nobody wants to live in a small apartment, but I spend my entire life in this apartment. Even if there was a mall downstairs, a food court downstairs, I'm going to go down there to shop. I'm going to go down there to probably read or eat, but at the end of the day, I spend 95% at least 75% of my time in my apartment, so it's important to make that space comfortable as possible. And if there was more collaborative areas, I think that I'd be more willing to go out and interact with friends, people that I meet in the community. But for the most part, I spend a lot of time inside. And we do have common areas. We have really great amenities here in my building. We have a sauna, we have a gym, we have this beautiful large area with like pool tables and ping pong tables and TVs and a beautiful, incredible view. But I still find myself here in my apartment, and I think that's what's really important, is just making sure that people who are purchasing or leasing there in that building have the option of variety. Like, they feel comfortable being inside their apartment, but they also feel even more comfortable being outside their apartment. So, with that being said, I think that transforming malls into residential and community spaces is a great idea of transforming and allowing people or companies, should I say, that have these franchises build back up on clientele and overall just money in general, because obviously you see a huge decline. And if I had funding, or when I get the funding, I would love to take on my first project, developing or with a team of developers or builders, and taking on this huge challenge. I think even building in like daycares, building in like skating rinks. Like, for example, I think the perfect example of this would be the Galleria here in Houston. There's a hotel at the very top. I think it's like the top 8 floors or something. I've never been up there, but I know that there is a hotel there. They don't have great reviews, which is I'm a huge shocker to me. But there's a hotel attached. I didn't stay there, but I think I did go there. I think it's like attached to the back of the mall. There's like valet, there's concierge. It's a hotel basically attached to the mall. And you can get inside the mall by going through some key lock doors, going through another set of key lock doors, and then boom, you're in the mall. There's like a restaurant right next door, and I think you're on the top floor next to like Nordstrom is this way, or Macy's is this way. I think it's a great concept. I don't know why people don't do more of that, but it'd be even better if people actually lived there. And the Galleria is a great place, but it's so big that it's almost overwhelmingly big, and I feel like that could be an issue, because there's not enough like common space for people to just go, sit, relax, have a coffee, read a book. It's very noisy, very busy, which can be a downfall. But the hotel is private, so it's very, very difficult to get in the hotel without passing up someone who would be like, hey, like, what are you doing here? And yeah, there's a lot of restaurants around, which is very beneficial. There's lots of shopping. Obviously, it's a mall. But I think that one thing it would be lacking would be like childcare. Obviously, there's no childcare there because it's not a residential space. It's a hotel. But you have, if it were me, if I was building it, I would say put like some type of childcare there, allow incentivize residents to work there in the building, incentivize them to shop there in the building, and make it like this own little world, like its own city. Like you're building a city within a city. So if they can maximize that, I think that'd be great for the community. I think having these like little hubs and like almost like Common Desk, it's like a hub for a lot of different stuff. People go there, they work, they collaborate, they eat. Put all of that into one large concept and make it like, in the movies, like how they have those bubbles and there's like bubbles inside of bubbles on this huge bubble. I think that would be a fantastic idea. I live next to a golf course, and I think what incentivized me to go outside all the time is that there's lots of people out. It's airy, it's spacious, and if you can take that concept and add it inside of a building, then it will attract more people. So that's my idea. I love reviewing things like this. This is something that I've had in mind for a very long time since I heard the whole thing with malls shutting down because of Amazon taking over and like drop shipping companies taking over. It's always been an idea of mine, and I love that people are starting to hear a lot more about it, talk more about it, and solve problems, and to figuring out how we can make it more useful of a space. I just love the idea. Even we talked about like building it into like a private school. I talked about it like building into a university, and I just think these are all really great ideas. I love the idea of transforming a space, and I think that's what this video is mostly about. So if you want to see other videos, if you have any other ideas as to what I should talk about, then I would love to go ahead and take those requests. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below, send me a DM. That's pretty much all I have today, and I look forward to talking more with you soon.